Hey guys, this first half of our video is part 1 of our Chapter 4 test. This is just giving you some review questions that are going to look similar to your test, so it's good to watch these before you take the Chapter 4 test. So the first one I'm going to read you is just a word problem you might see. Cindy bought 9.7 pounds of tomatoes at a farmer's market. The price of the tomatoes were $1.30 per pound. Part A is saying, what are the partial products of 9.7 times 1.30? Show your work. Partial products are the partial pieces in our multiplication problem that we end up adding up at the end. To find this, first thing we're going to have to do is multiply this problem. When we multiply decimals, we throw away the decimals and we stack up the numbers. My biggest number is going to be 130, and my number that's smaller is going to be 97. I stack them on top of each other. Now I go ahead and multiply. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 will give me 9. I add my 0. Now I have 9 times 0, which is 0. 9 times 3 is going to give me 27. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 2 is then going to give me 11. Now I'm supposed to add these up. This right here is my partial products. 1 partial product, 2 partial products. These are partial pieces of what my product down here is going to be. Well, now I know that these numbers are my partial products, but I can't just write 910. I have to figure out where my decimal goes. So I'm going to write my 910, and then I'm going to think about in my equation, it was actually 1.30 times 9.7. So my first partial product was 7/10 times 1 and 3/10. So let's see, how many numbers are behind the decimal? I have 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal. So that means I'm going to have to move my decimal 3 places forward. 1, 2, 3. My answer then becomes 0.91. Now you might say, why is it 91 and not 0.910? Same thing, but I could have both of them. It's still the same thing. And then my other partial product right here is 11700. But again, I need to look at my equation and figure out how many numbers are behind the decimal. Well, as I see, I have 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal, so I'm going to have to move it 1, 2, 3 places. My number then becomes 11 and 7/10. Now I can keep the 0, 0 at the end, or I can take it off. It'll still be the same thing. Now, I'm going to go back over here. So this is part 1 of my answer. It wants to know what the partial products are. My partial products are right here in pink. Now, part B is asking me, how much did Cindy spend in all? So in all means add. That means it finally wants us to give the final answer. So I can just take this part of the equation I have right here and plug my answer in. Or I could add up these partial products over here. I'll get the same answer either way. So I'm going to finish my equation on this side. 0 plus 0 is 0. 1 plus 0 is 1. 9 plus 7 is 16. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus nothing is 1. Now I have 12,610, but I need to figure out where my decimal goes. Back to my equation. I have 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal, so I'm going to move my decimal 1, 2, 3 places forward. My final answer for in total how much Cindy spent, I have 12 and 61 hundredths. Now see this 0 right here? I'm trying to think about how much money she spent. I want to throw a dollar sign in the front and I want to make it money. But in money, is there ever 3 decimal places in the back? There's not. There's only supposed to be 2 decimal places in the back when we do money. Well, good news for me is I have this 0 at the end. Is this 0 adding any value to my equation? Do I need the 0 here? I don't need it at all. So I'm just going to erase my 0 so that now it's $12.61, written how money should be. So this is how much money Cindy spent on her tomatoes that she bought at the farmer's market. Now let's look at our next question. Our next question says, choose all the expressions that are equal to 63 hundredths times 4 tenths. So you're going to have some problems that look like this on the test, quite a few honestly. So then it's going to give you some options. 63 over 100 times 4 over 100. 4 tenths times 63 hundredths. 63 hundredths times 40 hundredths. 4 tenths times 63 hundredths. 63 hundredths times 4 tenths. Then we have to figure out, are these equations equal to 63 hundredths times 4 tenths? The easiest thing I like to do is when I get an equation like this and there's a whole lot going on, I just like to rethink and I'm like, well, this is given in decimal form, this is given in fraction form. When I look at them in two different forms, I get all confused. So I need to switch them both to the same form. Well, I would like to change all my fractions into decimals so that I can compare them. I think I would like to do it that way. So that's the way I'm going to choose. You could take this and change it into fraction form. That is still an option. But we're going to go through each one of these and change them into decimals. So if I take this first one, I have 63 hundredths. That means that my 63 is going to be in the hundredths place. So that's 0.63 times, now I have 4 hundredths. That means my 4 is going to be in the hundredths place. 0.04 puts it in the hundredths place. Do these two equations, do they look the same? Are they equal to each other? Nope, because this one says 4 tenths, this says 4 hundredths. That's going to be an X. We will not be able to choose that one. All right, next one. On the next one, I have 4 tenths times 63 hundredths. Is this equation similar to this purple one up here? Yes, it is. It's the exact same thing, just written backwards. So this one would count. This one is equal to. My next one, I have 63 hundredths times 40 hundredths. This is where a lot of people get confused. I would pay very close attention. It says 40 hundredths. 40 hundredths. Well, I'm not going to let myself get confused. I'm going to write down my 40, and I'm going to think. That last number needs to be in the hundredths place. So my last number is a 0, and I want that in the hundredths place. So hundredths, tenths, decimal, in front of my decimal would be a 0. That's how I'd write 40 hundredths. Now, are these two equations, is this equation similar to my purple one at the top? It is. The only difference is there's a 0 behind this 4, and there's not one here, but a 0 at the end doesn't change the value. It's still equivalent. So this one would be equal to. Next one, I have 4 tenths times 63 hundredths. Would this one be equivalent? Well, let's see. It appears that it's the same equation, just written backwards. So yes, it would be equal to. Next, I have 63 hundredths times 4 tenths. Is this one equivalent? Yes, it matches it perfectly. It matches my equation exactly how I wrote it. This one is equivalent. Alright guys, that's all for part 1 of our video. Make sure you watch part 2 next before you take your test. Thank you.